Today I'll be breaking down the best Warzone team in the world's final game in the World Series of Warzone. If the Falcons won this game, they take home $100,000 each. But if they lose, this goes one more game and another team could creep up and take their win. For those of you who didn't know, these guys were in the middle of a game here, and during this thing, they had reset the game 3 times. So by the time this game had started, it was technically around like 45 minutes from the game previous to this. So these guys were a little bit iced. I'm not gonna lie. I expected these guys to come in and absolutely destroy this game in about like 4 games. For those of y'all who don't know, this was match point, right? So match point is pretty much get 150 points, then after that, win a game after hitting 150 points. They hit 150 points before this game, and then now this game, all they had to do was just win this game and they win the whole tournament. If they lose this game, they then have to play another one until they win or until somebody else comes, right? So this entire tournament, man, these guys were playing, honestly, at the beginning, was probably one of the worst that I've seen them play in a long time. And then they somehow picked it up into game 6 and 7 and just absolutely popped off. Diaz was in talks of retirement throughout this whole thing, and then all of a sudden, last second, Diaz decided not to retire. But you could just imagine what everybody was thinking, like, oh, this was his last ride, this was his last tournament, his last time competing. And I believe day 1, Diaz had a 9.5 KD, which is insane. And then day 2, a 4.5 KD. Both days, he was the #1 KD player for both days and out of the entire tournament. So, and this was on LAN. So I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, he's cheating. Oh, he's cheating. Yeah, well, you can't cheat on LAN. So, but these guys, the way they play this is at the beginning of every game, they land pop up, and what they do is they start looting and they start getting money. So a lot of people always say, how are they able to get all this money? How are they able to do this and nobody lands on them? The reason why is I've hosted scrims for these guys every single day for the last maybe 5 months, right? What they did was they would literally win every single gunfight and push everybody out and try to bully the competition into not landing here anymore. Because if they land here, they die and they place bad. So honestly, it was just fighting for their spot the entire time. But the biggest difference between this one itself, this POI, is that it has literally, you can leave here with $100,000, while other teams only have 10,000, maybe even less than that. So these guys have so much money. Even if they die, they're able to come back pretty easily, right? As of right now, they have 20K. They all split up because they know there's nobody really close by them. Honestly, it's crazy to me. These guys were on match point, right? If they die here, the tournament continues. If they win, the tournament's over. Not a single team. There was how many other teams? 39 other teams that could have landed on them to try to ruin their game to make sure that the tournament continues. And not a single team, not a single soul landed on them. I was mind blown at that. I didn't expect for that to be the case here. But hey, you know, it is what it is. Honestly, these 3 are the best 3 players in their respective roles. You know, Diaz is the role player, Shifty is the slayer, and Soka is the IGL. He's in charge of pretty much winning games for them. So yeah, Diaz had a crazy event. Shifty had an insane event. Soka had an insane, I think it was the #2 overall KD, I believe, from day 1, and then day 2, I believe, it was like #4. All 3 of these guys went absolutely insane. They've been dominating the whole entire scene for the last 6 months, and now we thought it was gonna be over. Well, now they're gonna have to do this, or they're gonna be dominating the scene again for another year to come. So let's kind of start breaking down kind of what the play is from here, right? They got their loadout, they're trying to get money. Now, what Shifty and Soka are doing while Diaz is going to get money, they are going and getting recons. What recons are gonna do is they're gonna show you where the next circle is. You can utilize this if you want in your regular gameplay. You can utilize this if you want in tournaments, in just regular pubs. It doesn't matter. This is gonna help you win as many games as possible, because if you position yourself in the right spot and you know where the end zone's gonna be, obviously you're gonna have a better advantage over everybody else. Let's break this down. They have pushed everybody else out of pop-off. That's where they land, right? So where nobody can test them. They've earned that. That's not given. In scrims, in every other tournament, teams have landed on them and they kill them every single time. They never lose their POI, and they've showed teams, hey, if you want to land here, you're gonna lose. You're not gonna make any money, and you're gonna place worse than if you land somewhere else. So that's why they have this to themselves. So that's one. After that, their next goal is either one, if they're not a match point, get as many kills as possible, right? So they're flying at teams. Right now, this is match point, so they're not playing like that. And then the games that are in match point, they're focusing on recons and getting as much money as possible. They're already at $46,000. They're continuing to get scavengers. They're continuing to get recons and getting as much money as possible. So that is their main goal for the beginning game of this. They're not focusing on kills, because at the end of the day, now when on match point, kills do not matter. The only thing that matters here is winning. These guys got incredibly blessed. So remember how I said they had done like 3 resets? think one of the two of those resets was pulling downtown. So it would have been an insanely harder rotation than this one right here. This was practically, I don't want to say free, because obviously they had to beat 100 and whatever, 30 other people, right? But this was honestly, I asked them themselves, I was like, guys, how easy was this game? And they were like, it's mind-blowing to me how easy this last game was comparatively to the rest of them. It felt like the competitors just really gave it all up and just said, you know what, screw it, we're gonna let them win. I don't know what happened. So many people were telling me that they were gonna land on them if they hit match point, and to see not a single team land on them, yeah, it isn't great. And that's that I wanted them to win, right? They're my boys. But even then, I wanted a good competition, and seeing that teams were too scared or worried about their own individual placement, I was just mind blown. So now here, they know this is going to end top right. So the good thing about this squad, and the thing that I think separates them a lot, is they're constantly moving and they're constantly rotating to where they believe the end zone is going to be. Soka is so good at this. You know what's crazy? I don't even know why they did this. I did not expect them to do this. I thought they were just going to rotate early. And that's how we watched this, right? We're watching the entire tournament, not just them, right? But I'm assuming this was FIFA. No, this was Jace, Breadman, and Joe. They played so many scrims that they know where most of these circles are going to pull. They get 1 or 2 recons, and then they know more or less where this is going to end. So what these guys are probably trying to do is clear out their back, because they know this is going to end top side of the map. So here, they're probably just trying to hold out as many teams as possible to try and make sure that nobody endgame, or there's less teams endgame, which I think they saw Breadman and them, Breadman, Jason, Joe, they weren't doing so hot this weekend, probably thought this was an easy wipe, and so they went for this fight here. And notice how these guys never really stack on each other. I've noticed a lot of players or a lot of people think that playing right next to your teammate is the play, but map control is super important. These guys, whenever they're in certain gunfights, they always try to separate into a triangle formation or spread out the map as much as possible to claim as much map control as they can. The way I like to look at Warzone, and I know I've talked to Diaz and Shifty about this a lot, is you're kind of like playing search and destroy, but on multiple little maps, if that makes sense. So you're in pop-off, you're fighting another team. It's kind of like you're playing S&D because you have 1 life, and then you do the same thing every other POI that you switch to. Obviously, endgames is different. There's like 30 other players fighting it out. But whenever you're in gunfights, you kind of have to, you play for info. That's one thing I've learned about, you know, Falcons, Diaz, and them. They're always playing for info. If they don't have an advanced UAV, they're shoulder peeking everything, trying to see, okay, how many players are there? Where are they at? You know, always trying to find out as much info as possible to try and make sure they have the upper advantage on everybody else. As you guys see, $40,000 to work with. They're buying advances left and right, buying bunkers, buying everything that they possibly need to get themselves set up for endgame. You see them disengage from the gunfight a little bit earlier against Bread. They saw another team third party them and said, you know what, and we're gonna back it up, right? I believe here when we're watching this, these guys rotate here, go up onto the zip line, get into zone, and from there, this is the #1 thing that teams never ever do. They start clearing their position and they start figuring out who's in front of us, who's near us, and how can we establish win con. I'm going to use this term a lot, right? So I want you guys, let me explain what win con is. Win con is win condition. What this means is wherever they stay or wherever they land, is they call it win con, on where they think the win condition is for them to win the entire game. So for example, if the circle was ending right here, this is win condition for this gunfight. They have the upper advantage. You can call it high ground too as well, but they have the upper advantage into where they think the best possible position is to win this fight. So right now, this is the win con position for this. We'll kind of retouch on this into the end game because they played win con beautifully in the end game of this one, which I guess we'll continue right now. So this team, look at this. I don't know which team this is, but I want you guys to see what happened. This team rotated into pop-off, and these guys have, it's insane that they've established this POI as theirs, that teams will go, know that it's them, and not even fight them. They will literally run away, which is what pretty much just happened. They took off, didn't even want to take this gunfight. These guys start splitting their money to make sure that if somebody dies, they all have a pretty even amount of money, and there's not one person with all of it. Look what Soka just said right there. See, so he's gonna wait 40 seconds to see if he can get on the recon, because recons resupply when the circle ends, right? So they're gonna see if maybe they're gonna wait here until this circle closes, 30 seconds, see if a recon comes out. If they do get one, they're gonna be able to see where the next zone after the one that's about to come up is gonna pull. That then is gonna make it easier for them to win. Again, these guys, and I don't know if it's just the Warzone scene right now, but these guys are so far ahead of everybody, and the entire year has shown this, even World Series. They think of the little things, and I think not a lot of players, not a lot of teams teams think about how do we get to end game? How do we think? A lot of the teams think about in the now. How do I win this gunfight right now? How do I rotate right now when it's already too late? These guys are constantly thinking of how do we rotate? How do we get to the end game, right? So look, they got 2 intels. Let's see what they do here. They're popping in advance to see if they can rotate and to see if there's anybody close by them. So they see that there's a team to the right. They're not going to take the zip right in front of them because they want to try to make sure that these guys in front of them don't shoot them out of the sky whenever they're rotating. So they're going to take the far left engagement here. They're going to wrap left. These guys in front of them holding him out. They got the heli as well to rotate. No, most of the time these guys don't use a heli, and they're probably using it just to get from contract to contract. Look at that. So Soka immediately, I want to pause and talk about this. Soka immediately saw where the map pulled, where the circle pulled, and said, we have to play for the bridge. We have to play for the bridge. This is what I'm talking about when we talk about win con. They know more than likely that circle's going to pull up. So Soka's already calling it out. Hey, go to the bridge, go to the bridge. If we get that, they increase their chances of winning the game. Warzone is very much so RNG, in other words, luck, right? But it's not complete luck. You can do your best to minimize the chances of RNG and minimize the chances of luck. Warzone is a BR. At the end of the day, BR will always have some type of luck. But the teams that can control the RNG, that can control the luck the best, are the best teams, right? How you deal with certain situations where you have all these things happening to you, and how can you minimize it as much as possible? That is why this team is so good. They're about to take this fight in front of them. They know that there's a team to their left, right? They have to try to focus on killing this team right in front of them and winning this initial gunfight fast, so that way they don't get third party by the team to the left. These guys probably know that it's Falcons, so they jumped down and gave up their control. Now, watch. There's a team to the left underneath them, a team to the right underneath them, and then there's a team in front of them on top of the hill shooting them as well. So they have to be really careful not to give up or overextend and pretty much give anybody the ability to shoot them from afar. See how these guys are so far away and Diaz is still staying behind a heady to try to make sure that he doesn't get shot at. Getting damage onto the other teams. Now, that damage doesn't just try to play for a kill. What this shows that other team is, hey, if we peek too much, we could get beamed. This is not an easy team. This is a pretty good team. That's what these guys are doing. There's so many little things that you can do when you're a pretty good team to establish quote unquote dominance and show that, hey, like, yo, this is a good team. Don't push these guys, right? So let's see what they do right here. They're going back, still have like $25,000 to work with. At this point, teams have like 5,000, maybe even less. These guys getting bunkers, peace strikes, trying to get everything they can, set themselves up for endgame. See, we are fourth zone. He called out Soka. This is going to be a bridge zone at the top right or top left. This is going to be one of those bridge zones. He called it out from fourth zone. Sure enough, that's exactly where it pulled. So team to the right here, they know that they're there. Still, team to the left, team to the right, 2 teams under them, right? And then team in front of them. Now, they see a guy pushing up on the bridge. They know no matter what, they cannot give up this bridge control. They're going to fight this team. This was a team that wasn't performing as good that day, so they probably felt pretty confident going into this. Still, Diaz watching their back, making sure everything's good. Look at number 1 on your mini map, top left. He's making sure nobody can flank them. That's what a lot of players don't. They have tunnel vision, focus on the teams in front of them. Soka, his arrow is pointing behind him, making sure nobody can get behind them, making sure that their team is doing everything they can to make sure that they don't get flanked. Cool, calm, collected, guys. Remember, this is a $100,000 game. $100,000. They're not crazy comms. They're not tweaking. They're not going crazy. They're just cool, calm, collected, trying to make sure they get to endgame here. Oh, I remember this one. This is where things get a little bit mixy. Holding the bridge. They have the power position. They can shoot these guys from a mile away without getting shot back. So Shifty, I believe, clustered this satellite right here in front of them. What that's going to do is make their team disperse and get mixy. They got a knock, was able to get the full kill here. Now, there's a 3v2. They know there's 2 pushing up on them right here in front of them. These guys are at a disadvantage. They probably will not chow them, which at the very least, they don't even have to worry about the kills. What this does is it opens up a path for them to rotate. Little things like this, teams just don't think about. These guys underneath them now, remember, they had 3 teams fighting them. They now have pushed the team under them. Remember at the beginning, they pushed them away. This team in front of them on the top satellite, they fought them as well. What this does is they pretty much scared them to now where they have to fight each other to where these guys have a free rotation. Little things. Right here, LTV coming at them. That's 3 teams under them going to battle it out. These guys, now they're trying to look at their map right here to make sure that these guys don't get behind them. I love this. Just smoking into rotation. They managed their inventory to make sure they didn't waste any smokes. for this gunfight. Here, power position. They have headies on these entire rocks they can lay down, they cannot get shot at, and they can see both teams. The only thing they have to be careful at is this team on top of them, on top of the train. These guys, if they peek too much, they can get shot at from them. So that's why they're smoking their back. They bunker them to make sure they can't get shot at, so they can focus on the fight behind them, clear out their back to make sure nobody else can shoot them. I want you guys to pay real close attention to where this pulls out. This power position, the win condition fight, is on the top left here. I'll show it you guys with my mouse. Is right here. This is the win condition right there. There's a mountain right here. If they get this spot right here, everybody else will be in the water underneath them and they win the game. Most teams do not do this. Most teams, what they'll do is they'll just try to get into the circle and that's it. These guys, Falcons, they're not concerned about just getting into the circle. They're focused on, let's get into the circle and then fight to get win condition and get the best possible spot to win the game. There's a team underneath them fighting right here, and there's a team above them. Watch the way they play this. Diaz focused on the team behind them. Soka and Shifty focused on the team in front of them. Smoked each other through the gas. Try to just make sure these smokes are just trying to make sure they cannot get shot from behind, and the other teams don't get a ping on them. Good, got it. So, okay, that's one team left. Now Shifty knows, okay, this opened up the position for us to move forward. Grabbing smokes, they're going to get their loadout again, replenish their smokes because Diaz said no more. Now here, most important fight of the entire map right here. Get control of this. Smokes their cross, make sure they don't get shot at, minimizing how much damage they take. Now watch this. They see these guys fighting right now. This is an instant third party. Got one on Enkyo, arguably the best team in EMEA the entire year. Diaz taking the rap. Getting an airstrike. Getting an airstrike here. Got a utility box to make sure the guys have more smokes and everything that they need in the end game. Got a utility right here. This is perfect for thermites and for smokes right here. Now they have all control of this entire top side. Look at the map. Everybody's fighting in the water. After this, that initial gunfight that they got on Enkyo them was all they needed. Genuinely one of the easiest games for them. All the teams fighting in the gas or in the water, they have nobody contending them. And everybody would say, oh my God, I can't believe they gave him this. Yes, they gave him this by not landing on them, but they knew they had the knowledge to get to that win con, to get to that win condition, sit on this spot and know where they need to rotate to hold everybody out. Look at this, easiest win of their lives.
Out into the gas we go. Biffle wants to claim the top of that elimination leaderboard, wants to cement the dynasty. We talked about it. Is it the last dance? I don't know, but they could cement themselves in history.
Look at this, two people in the water. Easiest win of their lives. 3v2 here.
Lands on a nice edge.
Diaz gets a knock on one, 3v1. They know it's over. They know they secure $100,000 right here with that gunfight. Wow. In one game, ace. They ace. And Diaz knew at this point, Diaz still thought that was his last tournament ever. At that point, Diaz thought it was over for him, man. Wow. Arguably for the last 6 months, not even the best team, in my opinion, ever created in Warzone. These guys, the dominance was absolutely unheard of. Out of the last 40 tournaments, I believe they won 37. Something crazy, but now 41 with the actual LAN. Look at this, wow. Yeah, there it is, man. There it is. Best team in the world. Have shown it since day one. I'll say this right now. They work harder than anybody. Now watch this.
Everyone wants to know. The music's finally stopped. Is this the last dance?
I know the competitors, they want us, or they want me to leave because we're too dominant. But I think I'll stay in their nightmares one more year.